Welcome to the Oklahoma City Council Candidate Forum for Ward 3. This is being streamed live on West 10 Facebook page and will be available there and on Northwest Oklahoma City Chamber of Commerce webpage. My name is Robin Jones, and I'm representing Oklahoma City's districts West 10 and the Windsor District. And we are hosting today's gathering along with Northwest Oklahoma City Chamber and Portland Avenue Baptist Church. Thanks to Jill McCartney and her team at the Chamber, and to Pastor Mullican at Portland Avenue for providing all the logistics today. Residents in Ward 3 are going to have the privilege and responsibility to vote as an informed voter on Tuesday, February 9th. We hope you will use this time today, this morning, to provide at least one source of your information and ask that you share this link with others. All candidates were invited to participate. Barbara Young had a calendar conflict, and Tim Long didn't respond to the invitation, and so we have 4 of the 6 candidates. Moderating the forum today will be Oklahoma City broadcast journalists from the Oklahoma Journalism Hall of Fame and many other things. But the first one is Billy Roadley, and she is most well known probably from her many years at KTOK and OETA, and Jim Palmer, who has served as an anchor reporter and news director at several media outlets in Oklahoma City. And I'm going to turn it over to them now. Thank you.
Thank you, Robin.
Thank you.
We want to thank the candidates for stepping up and wanting to be involved in your civic government, municipal government. Congratulations. This is a wonderful thing. And Jim's going to start us off.
Okay, thank you, candidates. It's great to see you, and we are hoping to, through a series of questions, some a little longer than others, 60 seconds down to 30 seconds, and we have a quick response time also, to get from you your opinions about the issues pertaining to Oklahoma City Council Ward 3. And to do that, we will go from over here across the panel, and then we will go back. And so it'll give you an idea, but to get you started, let's talk to each one of you briefly. Tell us your name and a little bit about your background. Alan Swanda. Alan?
60 seconds.
I'm sorry.
60 seconds.
Yeah, okay, we're going to do 60 seconds this time.
Opening statement.
Opening statement.
All right, good day. My name is Alan Swanda. I'm an Oklahoma native, born and raised. I went to school here, graduated university and Southwestern University Bulldogs, and I became a U.S. Army officer. I spent 30 years on active duty as a U.S. Army officer, and then after retirement, I was a consultant in the gas and oil industry in Southeast Asia, and then also was a small business owner as a consultant with Sikorsky Helicopter out in also Southeast Asia. Retired from all of that and moved back here in 2016. I'm married to my wife of 39, almost 39 years. She is a international educator and teacher, and I have 3 sons that are all adults, and I have 3 grandchildren. And the reason that I want to run is because I still want to serve the community. And as serving the community, I'd like to do it in uniform, but I got old, and so they won't let me do it in uniform anymore. So I'd like to serve our community as a council person.
Okay, thank you, Alan. Jessica Martinez Brooks, tell us a little bit about yourself and why you're running for council.
Thank you, Jim. First, let me just say thank you again to Walter and Portland Avenue Baptist Church for hosting us. I know you host a number of neighborhood meetings around here, and so I appreciate you opening up your facility to us today, and Northwest Chamber and the Windsor Hills area, and West 10, of course, for making this happen. My name is Jessica Martinez Brooks, and I am a lifelong resident of Oklahoma City. Born and raised, so are my parents and my grandparents. My parents graduated from Southeast and Grant High School. My great-grandpa His house actually sits in the middle of Scissortail Park, so I grew up right there on Southwest 5th and Harvey. I have loved Oklahoma City and have never wanted to live anywhere else in my life. I graduated from Westmore High School. I went on to Oklahoma City Community College. I was the first person in my family to go to college, and that was the best path for me. Was able to transfer to the University of Oklahoma and graduated there with a journalism degree and went back to get my master's as well. Live on Southwest, right off Southwest 29th between Morgan and County Line Road now, and married to my husband for 20 years and have 2 wonderful children.
Thank you very much, Jessica. Let's go now to Trey Bishop. Trey, tell us about yourself.
Hi, I'm Trey Bishop. I was born right down the street at Deaconess Hospital, raised in Yukon, lived there my entire life, went to school there, graduated from Southern Nazarene University with a degree in technology, and now I work for the family real estate business. I have 4 kids, one of them's hiding in the back there.
Okay, thank you, Trey. And last but certainly not least is Kelly Payne. Kelly, tell us where you hang out and a little bit about yourself.
Thank you, Jim, and thanks to everyone for being here today. My name is Kelly Payne. I live south of Mustang. I'm going to venture to guess I'm probably the only farmer sitting at this table, or these tables today. 5th generation cow-calf producer, currently am president of the Oklahoma National Stockyards. I am the board chairman for Stockyard City Main Street, West OKC Rotary member for 3 years, and I'm very involved in my community. I believe that the rural component is really important to Oklahoma City. What a great ward with so many different things to offer, whether it's industry, small town feel, and then the rural component as well. I look forward to working with everyone today, and thank you all for your time this morning.
All right, thank you. Now we'll start with the first official question with Jessica Martinez Brooks. And
60 seconds.
60 seconds. What do you feel are the 2 most important issues the Oklahoma City Council should address?
Definitely infrastructure. Infrastructure needs such as your roads and bridges and public safety, especially in Ward 3 with the ever-expanding housing that we have in Southwest Oklahoma City. There definitely needs to be more investment in our roads. That has been the number one thing that I have talked to residents about, and it's the number one thing we all agree on is we need better roads and bridges.
Is there a second?
Yes, public safety, 100%.
Trey Bishop, 60 seconds. 2 most important issues the Oklahoma City Council should address.
I think everyone I've talked to has also said infrastructure, assuming we're talking about my ward, Ward 3. Everyone is concerned about infrastructure, that our roads out, as we get out west, are really not that bad compared to right down here, where it seems that they're not being paid attention to at all. They may have never been repaved since they were originally laid. But probably out in my portion of the ward, what we really need are some kind of community services like parks. We don't really have any parks. We don't have places for the kids to go and play. It's not a very walkable place.
Good. Thank you. 60 seconds, Kelly Payne. What are the 2 most important issues the Oklahoma City Council should address?
I would have to also mirror the other candidates' opinion on infrastructure. I know where I am in that rural component, we do have some issues there. We want to take advantage of the city services for sure, but with Oklahoma City being the fastest growing city in Canadian County, we kind of need to shift some focus a little bit. Also with the situation we all went through together in 2020 with the pandemic, I think it's really important for us to look at economic development opportunities and keeping people employed in very good jobs. We can, I think creatively, we can utilize some public and private partnerships to get those things done.
All right, thank you. And Alan Swanda, 2 most important issues the Oklahoma City Council should address?
Well, first and foremost, if you look at the 2020 resident survey for Oklahoma City, the metropolitan area, the bottom tier satisfaction are the roads, the markings of the roads, the maintenance of the roads, and the traffic flow. So that obviously is something that we should address. As we look at the road network here in Oklahoma City and the development of that network, we need to take into account then the safety and the quality of life that goes with that. As we live out in Ward 3, the southwest sector, it appears that a lot of times our road networks are basically taken second tier to other wards that are closer into the metropolitan city. So that's number one. The second is, as I walk around and talk to people, is they don't feel like the city council is responsive to them. I want to return the voice of the ward to the people. The seat of the ward doesn't belong to the person sitting who's elected there. It belongs to the majority who want action from the city council.
Right. Your turn.
Okay,
And we'll start with Trey this time.
okay. Alan, thank you. Trey, we're going to go to question 2, is what they call it, in parentheses. And I want to remind all of you that while you're running for Ward 3 Council, every council person in Oklahoma City has to discuss and be involved in and vote on other issues that apply to the entire city. I know you realize that, but I want to point that out. So you're not limited to just talking about Ward 3. Maybe Ward 6 is affecting Ward 3 or whatever the case may be.
We'll get it.
Oklahoma's COVID rates are currently amongst the highest in the country, with hospitals and medical teams overwhelmed. What do you think of Oklahoma City's municipal leadership on addressing the pandemic? And what approach would you support, Trey? 60 seconds.
I don't believe that it's necessary to take the kind of steps that we have taken. We took a very knee-jerk reaction, and it's the way that we handled it has caused a lot of problems in business, a lot of financial hardship for people. A lot of the mandates that we've talked about, rather mandating people to behave a certain way rather than helping them to behave a certain way, has actually set neighbors against neighbors. It's made for a difficult situation socially in the community here. So I'm not particularly pleased about that. I think that we should take the approach of encouraging healthy behaviors is what I think, as opposed to mandating particular behaviors.
Okay, thank you very much, Trey. Kelly Payne, Oklahoma's COVID rates are currently among the highest in the country, with hospitals and medical teams overwhelmed. What do you think of Oklahoma City's municipal leadership on addressing the pandemic, and what approach would you support? 60 seconds.
Thank you, Jim. Much like Trey, I feel like a common sense approach is really important. I watched as small businesses had to shutter their doors. Some businesses that I worked with in the Stockyard City area are really, really hurting, and then folks in our ward as well. We were deemed essential there at the Stockyards because we did not want to further slow down the supply chain of beef. We all went to the grocery store for the very first time in our lives and saw things out on the shelves. So I know with my business we handled things a little bit differently, but we use common sense approaches, keeping people separated, focusing on hygiene to keep the momentum going.
Okay, thank you very much, Kelly. Let's go to Alan Swanda. Alan, what are your feelings about Oklahoma's COVID rates being among the highest in the country, with hospitals and medical teams overwhelmed? And what do you think of Oklahoma City's municipal leadership addressing the pandemic, and what approach would you support? 60 seconds.
Well, we're a year into this pandemic, and it's easy to play the armchair quarterback and look back and criticize the leadership for what they did at the time. I think when we take a look at things that are mandated, like mandated protective mask wearing and stuff. It is contentious. There are statistics on both sides, and people will like to look at the statistics that support their train of thought on it. I do believe that we should use a common sense approach and a courtesy approach. I wear a mask not because I feel like it's protecting me against other people, it's protecting them against me. And I think we all took that type of courtesy approach and treat each other with that type of respect. I think we can eliminate some of these mandates that are contentious for us. And the other thing with mandates is there has to be enforcement mechanisms. I know we have a $9 fee that's charged or a fine for the first 2 times that you're caught not wearing a mask. I'd like to see the statistics to see how much that's being enforced. And if so, then how are we enforcing that? So we have other things that we can look at.
Alan, I'm sorry, we hit the 60-second limit there.
I'm with you.
Let's go next to Jessica Martinez Brooks. And Jessica, the same question for you. Oklahoma COVID rates currently very high in the country, with hospitals and medical teams overwhelmed. What do you think of Oklahoma City's municipal leadership addressing the pandemic, and what approach would you use? 60 seconds.
We were in an unprecedented time in 2020, and we all didn't know what was coming and what to expect. And can you hear me okay? And at this point, we're in the vaccine phase and trying to provide opportunities for people to get the vaccine. So at this point, we know we want to support businesses and we want to support the business community and we want to get our kids back in school. And so providing either mobile vaccine units or something where our neighbors can get the vaccine if they want to do that, and allow people to move forward so we can get back to business.
Okay, Jessica, thank you very much. It's time to turn it over to Billy, and she's got some different questions for you.
This is sort of a lightning round, if you will. I'm going to ask a question, and you can answer by raising your hand, or I guess you have cards, and then I'll do a follow-up for some of you. The first question is, have you voted in past municipal elections? Yes? Okay, so everybody has, so I don't have to call on anybody who didn't and ask why. Well, the other ward, there were people who had not voted, so that was. Okay, next question. Have you attended an Oklahoma City Council meeting in person ever? Okay, Ellen, well, you were out of town.
I just moved back here, I just moved back here 4 years ago. I do watch the meetings on the OETA Channel 20 and both the City Council and the Planning Commission meetings, but no, I have not attended in person.
Do you ever interact?
I do. There are some issues on some development issues in our ward that I have taken a public stance on in public forums. I have written to the Planning Commission in response to some of these on behalf of some of the other citizens who also are in disagreement with, so yes.
Okay. All right. Next question, last of the lightning round. Have you served on any city commissions, task forces, or boards? Okay. This time we go to Jessica and say, which one, why, what'd you do?
So I currently serve on 2 city trust and a commission. I serve on the Oklahoma City Water Utility Trust as vice chair. I was appointed by the mayor in 2018. And then I also serve as vice chair for the School Bond Advisory Board, which is a partnership between the city and Oklahoma City and Oklahoma City Public Schools.
Okay. Kelly?
I serve on the Stockyards Urban Design Overlay Commission so that we can look at positive development and infill within the district, but also maintain the historical accuracy of that area.
I'm glad we don't have any vegetarians here, because beef is what's for dinner. Hey, Jim, your turn.
Okay, thank you all for responding so well. The next question, we're going to allow you 30 seconds to respond. And it is simply, what is your idea of how much time you'll spend monthly as a council member? And what kind of constituent engagement should we expect from you? I believe we want to go to Trey to start this question.
No, that would be Kelly, wouldn't it?
It's Kelly.
Oh, whatever.
Yeah, Kelly.
Okay, Kelly, I'm sorry.
I feel like this position you're going to get the most out of it is what you put in it. And I think being accessible to constituents within the district and the ward is very, very important. With my current position, I know my phone is on 24/7. It was kind of nice to not bring it in here today. I feel like I'm very easily accessible. I have no problem visiting with folks over the phone at all.
Thank you very much. Billy, it's your turn.
No, you go to Alan.
Oh, we did.
The same question.
Hey, Alan, that's a...
Kelly has it first on, didn't you?
Okay, very simply put, what is your idea of how much time you'll spend monthly as a council member? And what kind of constituent engagement should we expect?
So I am fully retired, and so when I looked at this and have full support from my wife of, like I said, 38 years, who fully is expecting me to full-time submit to the actions necessary for city council. It may be a detriment to some of the other people because I want to serve. And I want to make sure that the people are represented, and I want to be able to talk with them and have their voice represented at city council.
Okay, thank you very much. Next.
Thank you, Jim. I fully expect this to be, it's supposed to be a part-time thing, city council. You meet every other week on Tuesdays. Those meetings go very long. If any of us have recently watched council meetings, they will, in fact, when a water trust meets at 2, it typically council is still meeting at the time. And so if you are really doing your job, you're being responsive to the people in your ward and throughout the city, and you're engaging very regularly with other municipalities and other school districts that fall within your ward as well. So that takes time, and that takes going to neighborhood association meetings and homeowners association meetings. Those are all very important to me.
Okay, thank you very much, Jessica. We now go to a different series of questions.
No, we go to Trey.
Oh, we finally get to Trey.
I can answer the question too, I think, hopefully. But
I'm not very good at the switching back and forth, I gotta tell you that right now.
30 seconds.
30 seconds.
I'm sorry, can you ask the question one more time?
Yes, absolutely. What's your idea of how much time you'll spend monthly as a council member? And what kind of constituent engagement should we expect from you?
I'll tell you, our present councilman, Larry McAtee, he calls me back at all times of the day whenever he's very responsive. So I imagine that he works about 300 or 400 or 500 hours a week, and maybe 1,000 hours a week. So $12,000 is a huge sum of money, and I expect that I have to earn it by, working 1,000 or 2,000 hours a week.
Okay,
I expect I will be spending most of my waking hours doing this job. That's what I'm applying for.
from what I've heard from council members in the past,
Yeah.
that sounds about right.
Boy, are you right, covering a city council meeting is a pain in the rear. Never mind. But that was another life. Okay, question number 5 now. I don't have my glasses on. We're going back to 60 seconds, and this has to do with maps. Alan, what is your favorite maps for project and why? And if you could add something to the maps projects, what would it be?
Yeah, thank you, Billy. So part of the issue I have with Maps 4 is the fact that we have 17 different maps line items, and they're all bundled together under one, basically, yes or no vote. So to answer your question in a little reverse, as I walk around, there's a lot of people who have questioned as why some of these MAPS programs are being funded. For instance, for the third time now, it looks like we're going to renovate the Chesapeake Arena for $115 million. So if I could have done anything, I would have basically had, when we voted, where we put a line item, said yes on one, no on another. The one that I think is probably the most important is going to be, for me, is the one dealing with the mental health issues, and drug abuse. There's a lot of issues out there, and this COVID, closing businesses, as well as the other jobless rate is going to add to mental health issues. So I believe then that one is probably most pertinent, most important for us.
Jessica Martinez, Brooks, 60 seconds. What is your favorite MAPS 4 project and why? And if you could add something to the MAPS projects, what would it be?
Well, if you talk to most voters right now, they're like, could we just have a MAPS project for roads? If we could just spend some money on roads, that would be great. And so probably adding additional assistance for infrastructure would be key for an additional MAPS project on down the line. But my favorite project that we are seeing right now is the investment in our parks, specifically in South Oklahoma City, and the new park that would go into Canadian County, because like Trey said, we don't have a lot of park space out there in the ward. So it is really important that we provide those spaces for our families, especially right now during COVID times, where they can get out, walk, exercise, and just enjoy time with their families.
Trey Bishop, 60 seconds. What is your favorite MAPS 4 project and why? And if you could add something to the MAPS projects, what would it be?
That's so unfair to just leave me with one thing. I didn't vote for MAPS 4. I generally take the position that taxation is theft. I don't like taxes at all. I think most of you guys don't like taxes. But MAPS 4 passed, and we have almost $2 billion now to spend on various things. I very much like the social services type of things, the mental health, the homeless, substance abuse programs, things like that. The problem is that these are all funding. There is no ability to continue operations is the word I'm looking for. There are no operations funds. These are just to build things. So if I were to change anything, I would dump the entertainment projects. I think if the Chesapeake deal was actually making money, they wouldn't need to ask us for more.
And finally, Kelly Payne, 60 seconds. What is your favorite MAPS 4 project and why? If you could add something to the MAPS projects, what would it be?
Much like Alan and Trey mentioned, mental health is very, very important to me, and never so important as what we've gone through with this pandemic. So I think that was an exceptional use of funding. Maybe there was, which we didn't realize what was going to be happening. But with that, that is a key component to combating our homeless situation. It's going to take some really creative ways to solve this problem in our great city. And between mental health, substance abuse, housing, and combating this chronic homelessness as well, I think we should look at that from the perspective of making that better, not only for our community, but for those folks that are embroiled in that.
All right. The next question is a 60-second question. And who do we want to start with?
Jessica.
Oh, okay. All right, Jessica. This question is about Ward 3. Ward 3 covers an interesting swath of West Oklahoma City, sharing borders with Mustang, Yukon, Bethany, War Acres. What's the role of the council person in fostering collaboration with all these municipal neighbors?
That's a great question. You know, when I first started over the summer, I put the kids in the car and I said, come on kids, we're going to drive the borders of Ward 3. And it literally took us 3 hours to drive around Ward 3. And so you're talking about all the way out to Gregory Road, almost to El Reno, and Gregory Road is a gravel road. You go all the way down to past South Lakes Park, which you're almost talking Tri-City. And then, so it's basically everything west of I-44 out along I-40, and then the north side piece up here, where we are in Portland, up to Northwest 36. So you're encompassing 3 different counties, Canadian, Oklahoma, and Cleveland. I believe there's 8 different public school districts within the ward. And so for myself, I live in Canadian County. I have Oklahoma City Water Utilities, and Mustang Public Schools. So people almost feel oftentimes like they're in no man's land out there. We just don't understand, which municipality to go to for an issue, whether it's roads or anything else. And so it's really important to stay engaged with everybody.
Okay, thank you, Jessica. Let's go to Trey. And Trey, Ward 3 does cover a large swath of West Oklahoma City, sharing the borders with Mustang, Yukon, Bethany, War Acres. What's the role of the council person in fostering collaboration with these municipal neighbors, which you will surely end up having to do?
A lot of people in my area know about an interchange project that was just going, Oklahoma City and Yukon were involved in this interchange project. Off-ramp at Frisco and I-40. And Oklahoma City dropped the ball, just dumped it all on Yukon. Yukon had to finish paying for this thing and pave the road and all of this whatnot. Oklahoma City benefits from it. So this left a bad taste in the mouth of Yukon council members, Yukon businessmen. I've become very close with Yukon council members, Mustang council members, El Reno mayor, the cities around us. I think that's extremely important to know these people, so that when you have projects you're working on together, everything works smoothly, equitable sharing of responsibility.
All right, thank you, Trey. Once again, Kelly, what is the role of the council person fostering collaboration with all of these municipal neighbors? And I won't mention them all again.
I found myself in a similar situation with Jessica, Mustang address, Mustang school district. But one thing I've never forgotten, and it's because I am a user of city services, is the importance of folks in that entire area understanding how valuable that is. I live in a very rural component, but I've had, just a few weeks ago, assistance from Oklahoma City Fire Department. Oklahoma City Police Department has been called to assist us with things there at the farm. So all of those, the constituents there in Ward 3 appreciate the fact that we have access to all of these city services, and I think it's just continuing, much like Trey said, to collaborate, working with Mustang, Yukon, El Reno, kind of the fringe, Bethany, so that we can all move forward as that area of Oklahoma City continues to grow.
Thank you. Let's see, who's next? Alan? Okay, Alan, what is the role of the council person in Council Ward 3 fostering collaboration with all the municipal neighbors that you have?
Well, I think it's very important. Just like the others in the ward that's running here, is I have a Yukon address, I have Oklahoma City Utilities, and I'm in Mustang School District. The ward has grown in population fourfold from 15 years ago. So with that, and you look at specifically like Mustang, which is right in the confines of this part of the center of Ward 3. And I've watched on the city council where developments are being talked about, being voted, and being passed, but they are going to impact school districts that are not getting the same tax dollars as are coming from then the residents that will live in those new communities. So I think it's very important that we collaborate, especially with Mustang and Yukon and Piedmont and stuff, who have school districts that will be impacted by the massive development that we continue to do in Ward 3. To include also then the utilities, to include then the quality of life that also needs to be developed in those regions as well.
All right. Thank you very much. And we begin this round with Trey Bishop. 60-second answers, please. This ward includes a large and growing industrial area, including Will Rogers Airport, the Hobby Lobby warehouses, and Amazon's new shipping centers. It also includes Oklahoma City's Trash Mountain on South Rockwell. Would you support more residential development in this area or anything else to improve Oklahoma City's quality of life?
Would I support residential development next to the Trash Mountain? I suppose if people want to live there. I find that a very odd question. I believe in property rights. I think that if people own a piece of property and they want to live there, then they should be able to. Being in the real estate business, I don't foresee it being a good place to develop a neighborhood. It doesn't sound profitable, but if people want to do
I
it.
don't think that's what you were saying.
Maybe we should have Jill explain it.
Is there, have I got the question wrong?
No.
The whole Ward 3, not just our trash man.
The whole Ward 3. Now, as you move further out west, there was a lot of space, but Oklahoma City has kind of allowed a Wild West situation for developers, and they're not making them pay their fair share. But people wonder, how are we going to pay for our roads? The developers are supposed to pay for that. When they build a new neighborhood, they're supposed to pave the road or widen it if necessary for the new traffic. We're not making that happen. Yeah, I think people should be able to develop what they want to, but they should pay what's necessary for infrastructure.
Kelly Payne, this ward includes a large and growing industrial area, including Will Rogers Airport, the Hobby Lobby warehouses, and Amazon's new shipping centers. It also includes Oklahoma City's Trash Mountain on South Rockwell. Would you support more residential development in this area or anything else to improve Oklahoma City's quality of life?
Thank you, Billy. I agree with Trey. There's a lot of housing additions that have come up, especially around my farm, that just kind of came in overnight. So I'm not really sure that all the T's were crossed and the I's were dotted. But when we look at developing additional spaces for folks to live, I think it's important to make sure that the infrastructure is there. When we look at city services, like I said, I'm a user of city services. I want to make sure that if there's a housing addition going in a mile up the road from me, that I'm still going to be able to have water and power. Everything is going to be working. But that's what adds to that quality of life for those folks. They're moving out there for a reason, and certainly I'm all for new development. But let's just be smart about it and take a common sense approach.
Alan Swanda, 62nd. The ward includes a large and growing industrial area, including Will Rogers Airport, Hobby Lobby warehouses, and Amazon's new shipping centers. It also includes Oklahoma City's Trash Mountain on South Rockwell. Would you support more residential development in this area or anything else to improve Oklahoma City's quality of life?
Well, thank you, Billy. So there is a Southwest Oklahoma City development plan that was passed by the Planning Commission in 2006 that specifically shows all the zones for that is industrial, that is agricultural, and that is also for office and residential. So that's already been residentially zoned is open for further development. But like my colleagues here, is that with development, there needs to also go the quality of life. Good roads, make sure we have fire and police. It's available out there. Do we have things that will support the quality of life of residents who want to live out there? Good roads is one of the issues. I agree with Trey, is whenever they're developing new residential sites out there, they're developing on 2-lane roads that may not be in the best shape. And so what happens is we get the taxes, and from the taxes then we'll say we'll develop then improve the roads. I think we should be doing it in reverse, is instead of getting complaints from new developments that are paying taxes, we should make sure that we're investing in the roads up front as we're doing the development, so that way people have the quality of life that goes with those new developments.
And Jessica, industrial area, large and growing. Would you support more residential development in this area or anything else to improve Oklahoma City's quality of life?
Well, obviously, we want, quality roads and bridges out in Ward 3, especially for all of the transportation and manufacturing industries that we have in that area. We have a ton of semis coming through at 29th and Council, right there off of I-40. I mean, if you go over the I-40 Council Bridge right there by the outlet malls, it is in terrible shape. And I mean, I've had a number of flat tires in that area, and we have just a large amount of semi trucks coming in from Hobby Lobby. And I would think that our businesses would want to develop those roads as well to ensure that they are able to get their trucks in and out on a daily basis. And for me, when I think quality of life, I think of additional great things that make our city just wonderful, and things like parks and additional restaurants and the outlet malls. So, trying to provide a west corridor entrance into Oklahoma City where those outlet malls are.
Okay,
is really
Jessica, thank you very much.
Sorry.
I'm going to take a moment of personal privilege here. I was a little girl at a house on the flight path to O'Hare Airport. Why anybody who would want to live under the flight path at Will Rogers, I don't know. But there you go.
Another example would be Love Field in Dallas,
Yeah,
Texas.
that's true. Anyway,
Houses all around it.
sorry.
Let's go, do we finish that question?
Yes.
Yes. The next one is a 60-second question, and where did we start last time? Who started this time?
Kelly.
You start with Kelly.
Okay, Kelly, we're going to go to you first. What is your view of managing the demands of Oklahoma City's growth patterns and sprawl and the resulting demands on city services? 60 seconds.
Can you ask that one more time, please?
Sure. What is your view of managing the demands of Oklahoma City's growth patterns and its sprawl and the resulting demands on city services?
I think we just have to step back and really look at things from a common sense perspective. A number of these questions that have been asked today are about whether it's development out in the rural component, how are we handling infrastructure within Oklahoma City. We do have an aging infrastructure, sewer systems, water systems, et cetera, especially in the southern part of Oklahoma City. So if we use common sense as we move forward, whether it's building affordable housing in certain areas or any number of things, just be systematic about it and step back and hope that these when we're looking at it, look at something that's going to last for 100 years, not 15 years.
Okay, thank you very much, Kelly. Let's go back over to Alan. Alan, what is your view of managing the demands of Oklahoma City's growth patterns and sprawl and the resulting demands on city services?
So statistically, Oklahoma City by land area is, I think, the 11th largest landmass metropolitan area in the United States, and by population we're ranked around the 25th. With that, as we look at that size, then we have to provide the city services and stuff that go with that. And I think we need to take a hard look at before we decide that Oklahoma City wants to incorporate more land. We need to be able to sustain what we already have without putting an undue additional tax burden on the residents that are currently within the Oklahoma City greater metropolitan area. When it comes to taking a look at other types of services, I'll tell you what, I'm going to throw one out there that's probably, since I've lived overseas so long, is as we develop road networks further and further out and we put more and more lights at corners further out, city services, for every light that we put out there, it's costing utilities, which comes out of city services, about $1,000 up to $5,000 per traffic intersection. We need to reduce that with traffic circles.
Thank you very much, Alan. Jessica, we're going to throw the same question at you and see what you say. What is your view of managing the demands of Oklahoma City's growth patterns and its sprawl and the resulting demands on city services? And I have a sub-question. What do you think is the cause of the sprawl in Oklahoma City?
Well, currently Oklahoma City is in high demand right now for housing. A lot of people are moving here from out of state just because we have a low cost of living and we have been very business friendly to some extent. And so, one of the best things that I think the council person and one of the top priorities should be is, we have a number of commissions, from the Planning Commission, the Traffic Commission, where Ward 3 gets an appointee to those commissions. And so as a council person, it would be my hope to sit down and meet with the current Ward 3 appointees on all of those different, whether it's parks, planning, and just to hear what's been happening and what the growth looks like and what our plans are looking like for 10, 15, 20 years from now.
Okay, thank you very much, Jessica. Trey, let's try the same question here. What are your views of managing the demands of Oklahoma City's growth patterns and its sprawl and the resulting demands on city services? And I have a sub-question. That is, from what I understand, a lot of the growth in Oklahoma City is from small rural areas around the metropolitan area, people wanting to move into Oklahoma City.
Okay, I live in the far west portion we call it Ustang. Some other people have other names for it. Oklahoma City went on a wild annexing spree 50 or so years ago, just taking in a whole bunch of land for no apparent reason, but it was actually a business strategy. It was a strategy to make money for some people. My answer to this is Oklahoma City doesn't need all this land, and the people out in a lot of these areas don't want to be a part of Oklahoma City. My suggestion is to offer de-annexation to these people.
Why are they moving into Oklahoma
perhaps-
City then?
I'm sorry?
Why are they moving to Oklahoma City then?
Why are they moving to? I don't believe people are moving to Oklahoma City from these towns around.
Rural areas
From
of Oklahoma.
rural areas.
Mhm.
Oh, sell the farm and move into town. I don't have a better explanation than that. I mean, they want to be close to some things. But I suggest that we de-annex some of these areas.
Thank you very much, Trey. Same question, Kelly?
No.
No, I got you already.
Yep.
Everybody's answered that question. I'm going to throw it over to Billy.
Thank you. Okay, Alan, we'll begin with you, 60 seconds. And this has become really important, especially in the past couple of years. What are things the city council, both as a whole and as individuals, can do to reduce tensions and improve race relations in the city?
So spent 30 years in the military to where we're probably one of the most integrated federal organizations that there is as part of the United States. When I serve on a place, I don't look at color, I don't look at creed, I don't look at the sex you are. We're all equal, we're all green in those uniforms and stuff. The city council itself, I think, whenever you find that there's racism or inequality, it should be addressed head on, obviously. But I don't think we need to go look for racism and look for inequality where it doesn't exist. In a lot of places, a lot of things, what we do is we're going out and looking for reasons to find that there's disunity out there. And I don't understand why. I recently saw where Laurel Ingalls Wilder's Little House on the Prairie books are being basically banned in areas and stuff because of the racial verbiage that come. What does Little House on the Prairie books have harmed anybody? So let's don't look for problems where they don't exist. Let's address things head on, as the city council should.
Jessica Martinez Brooks, 60 seconds. What are things the city council, both as a whole and as individuals, can do to reduce tensions and improve race relations in the city?
Building relationships with a variety of communities within the city is extremely important. My work that I do on the board of the Police Athletic League right now does that. So we put officers in different elementary schools to be coaches for students who in after-school athletic programs. And it's addressing and being proactive and establishing those relationships and building trust within our community. I worked very closely when I was in education at Oklahoma City Community College and OU in enrichment programs, where we did a lot of work in inner city schools, mostly Oklahoma City Public, Western Heights. And what the purpose of is just building that trust and ensuring that there is somebody there that you can talk to about concerns that are happening in your neighborhood.
Okay. Trey Bishop, what are the things the city council, both as a whole and as individuals, can do to reduce tensions and improve race relations in the city?
I think with any contentious issue, the most important thing that a council member of the council as full can do is to genuinely listen to people and keep listening, even though you might not agree. council has been doing a very good job. I've been watching them listen to all kinds of crazy things from people that they may not agree with, but they hear it, and we see the result when people feel like they have not been listened to. We've seen it throughout the summer. We saw it this last month. When people feel like they've not been heard, they act out. On a personal level, I think that people need to sit down and get to know each other over dinner. People need to have personal relationships. As far as race goes, that's how you learn about one another.
Kelly Payne, what are things the city council, both as a whole and as individuals, can do to reduce tensions and improve race relations in our city?
Thank you, Billy. I'll echo the same sentiments as my counterparts up here. Listening is really important. I look at this from a personal perspective with my job. I'm the first female president at the Oklahoma National Stockyards, and I'm a woman in a man's world. But I have never felt like there was anything that anyone was out to get me, really. But I also have a very diverse staff. I have a staff of about 40 people from all nationalities, all different languages, and we work together as a team. Probably that goes back to my agricultural roots. An old-fashioned barn raising. You all work together for the betterment and to achieve the goal. So listening and understanding and working hard and being nice will get us a long, long way in this community.
Okay, your question goes to Jessica. Jessica.
Okay. All right. The next question is a 30-second question. And it brings a current issue. The Oklahoma City Council recently voted to hire a national consulting firm by the name of 21CP Solutions for $175,000 to transform the delivery of public safety services. What is your view of this approach? That would be community policing or something of that nature. What is your view of this approach in addressing policing and criminal justice issues in Oklahoma City? 30 seconds.
It's my understanding that that recommendation came out of the task force that was recently established by the mayor. It's a 45-member council and it was a subcommittee of that council who recommended that to council right before I think we went on Christmas break. It's really important for us to look at policies and procedures that we are using for policing, and I believe the FOP is also a part of that committee as well. So just ensuring that we are having appropriate training and policies and procedures.
Okay, thank you very much, Jessica. Trey? The council recently voted to hire 21CP Solutions, a consulting firm, for $175,000 to transform delivery of public safety services. What's your view of this approach in addressing policing and criminal justice in the city?
I have friends on the department who are actually unaware that this has been done, so I know that they weren't consulted at all. I've been following very closely. I've been watching the meetings online, and $175,000 for if it improves our police department is probably a better way to spend money than $15 million on an energy center that's not making us any money. I think that we need to involve the police officers in these discussions.
Okay.
They want to do better as well.
Thank you very much, Trey. Kelly, this is a difficult question to answer, and it's probably a difficult one to really give a clear answer to ask and to give a clear answer to. The Oklahoma City Council has paid $175,000 to a consulting firm by the name of 21CP Solutions to transform the delivery of public safety services. What is your view of addressing policing and criminal justice issues in this way?
I think within any organization, everyone wants to do their best job. And it's no different whether it's the police department, my staff, any of the businesses that you all work with. And if it takes spending a little bit of money for everyone to come to the table and to create change and make things better, so be it. With Jessica, I believe that did come out of the task force, and that was formed for recommendations.
Thank you, Kelly. Let's see, we go over to Ellen now. And Ellen, the City Council recently hired 21 CP Solutions, a consulting firm, for $175,000 to transform public safety services in our city. What is your view of this approach in policing and criminal justice issues?
So I'm going to take a step and say I disagree with spending that type of money for that. And I take it from a standpoint that as a military officer, in every operation we did, every training, every combat operation, at the end of it you do basically called an after-action review. And you look from that after-action review, you determine what went well, what went wrong, what we need to do to adapt to change to make it better. And I think the police force could have done that internally, and they should be doing that constantly themselves. As technology changes, as the city changes, they should constantly be doing a review, and we don't need external people to come and pay them for that.
Thank you, Ellen.
Well, we're out of time. On this last question, I want to congratulate you. When we did a different ward candidate debate, any of them know what that was. So whoever gets elected, you got to straighten out people from that other ward about what's going on. Okay, let's do closing statements. Do we want 30 or 60 on this? 30? Okay. 30 seconds, and we'll go the other direction this time. Kelly, 30 seconds closing statements. Why should we vote for you?
I feel like I bring a common sense approach to business. It's been interesting to run Oklahoma National Stockyards. I'm also a previous small business owner. I worked with a number of nonprofits, but as I mentioned in the opening statements, getting creative with public-private partnerships, focusing on economic development, quality of life in Oklahoma City is really key, and it's really important to me. So thank you all for your time today.
30 seconds. Trey Bishop, why should we vote for you?
Wow. I'm not like any of these other candidates. I have some really wild ideas about what should be done. I've already said we need to de-annex portions of Oklahoma City that are not being serviced and don't want to be a part of Oklahoma City. I don't like the Maps for Entertainment projects. I would dump them all in a heartbeat. Just know this. And I'm going to be a naysayer. If you're tired of seeing things rubber stamped, yes, I'm going to say no sometimes, maybe just for the fun of it.
And Jessica Martinez Brooks, why do you want to get in this whole mess?
Thanks, Billy. I ask myself that on a daily basis sometimes. I love this city. I love the growth. I love what we're doing, and I have a lot of experience already working on city trusts and commissions. To me, I just wanted to do the right thing. My grandma always taught me, I watched her for many years, when there was something not going right, you step up to the plate and you find a way to do it yourself. She taught me hard work, so did my parents, and that's why I wanted to be here, because I believe it's the right thing, neighbor helping neighbor.
And Alan Swanda, 30 seconds closing remarks, please.
Well, as I said in the opening, I still have the passion to serve. I can't do it in uniform, so I'd love to serve our community. I think I bring leadership and I bring experience, not just from Oklahoma, but from my experience around the world. And I'm going to make a challenge to anyone who gets elected and to the other wards as well. I think it's public service. I don't think it's for payment. And I have already said publicly, and I'll say it here, that I challenge anyone who gets elected to at least dedicate half of their salary until this pandemic passes back to COVID relief for Oklahoma City.
Thank you very much. Thank you all so very much. We'll turn it back over to Robin Jones with West 10.
Thank you.
Well, we don't have a large group. We do have a public audience this time, but so if we can give a round of applause from everyone. And thank you for attending. Again, thank Portland Avenue Baptist Church, the Northwest Oklahoma City Chamber. And I want to say that this entire forum is going to be posted on West 10's Facebook page and on the webpage of Northwest Oklahoma City Chamber. Please point people to this. We just need to not only vote, but be an informed voter. So thank you to the moderators, and thank you for everyone who helped put this together, as well as the candidates, and we are dismissed.